is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Third competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. Tap it in. 1 point more to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
It is Tuesday afternoon here at the University of Oregon. Welcome into Duck Insider. Happy you're joining us. Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joined for Athletic Director Tuesday by Lisa Peterson. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Jordan. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, too. How are things going? What's on your desk these days?
What's on my desk these days? Well, obviously we're in full swing with soccer and volleyball. And I'm going on the road again, so packing is another issue, as you all have heard.
So are you going to Minnesota?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm going to go to New York with soccer.
Okay, with soccer.
Yes,
That's
yes.
going to be quite the trip.
9/11.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So
definitely.
what's going into that trip? What's it seems like there's a Thursday match here,
Yes.
all the way to New York for later in the weekend. That's going to be an intense stretch for that team.
Especially for a team who's struggling with injuries right now. But the
Right.
good news is everyone's going. I think it's going to, Graham's trying to make it educational as well. So excited about that for that team. And I used to live in New York, so it'll be good to go back there. It's been a while since I've been there. But, excited to go play Hofstra. And like I said, I think he's going to make it a little bit educational. It's hard to imagine the majority of this team wasn't born when 9/11 happened.
That is crazy.
Hard for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
But no, really excited about that. And, they're a great group. So, and then obviously, as you said, volleyball is going to Minnesota. Whew, what a trip that's going to be.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's going to be a fan base in Minnesota that is they have revenge on their minds after what happened in 2018. There's no doubt about it. I want to get to soccer. I want to get to volleyball.
Great.
I know you had some time now that we're fully into the swing of things. Hopefully you had some time to take a vacation since the last time we spoke.
I did. I did what it seems like a lot of Oregonians do is I went to Maui. I feel like that's
that's the spot.
It was my first time and it was absolutely beautiful, and now I know why people go. And in all honesty, I checked out, and it's probably the first time in my career that I didn't answer phone calls. I barely answered text messages, and a couple emails were sent, but
Finally did it the right way.
I did, and it was really great. And so I appreciate Rob and everyone letting me do that and be able to get out because it was amazing.
So what'd you do? Did you play some tennis? Lay on the beach?
Did the beach, did the pool.
Volcanoes maybe?
No,
nothing?
I'm telling you, Jordan, it was
Checked
about
out.
as relaxing. Yes, we did massages. We did ATVs. Have you done ATV?
I've never done
I
that.
ate a lot of dirt. There may or may not be photos of me with brown teeth. But no, it was some great dinners, a luau. But no, it was really just relaxing.
That is amazing. I know the
It can
connection
happen.
from
It can
Hawaii
happen.
to Oregon, and
Yeah.
I didn't know about the connection from Oregon
I
to
feel
Hawaii.
like everyone I talk to, they're like, oh, you're going to love it. And they all sent me all these recommendations. So it feels like a lot of people go to Maui. But again, now I know why, and I hope I get to go back.
One of the cool things that I think was done already this year, the Women in Flight shoe and the auction that went into that was a really cool deal. I think we have a graphic showing just how unique a pair of shoes this is, and it went to a really good cause as well.
And the winner with Ellen Devlin Schmidt, who is so tied into, Title IX and women's athletics and all the stuff that she has done individually for us. And then hopefully you got to see the story that went out about her, that Mackenzie Francher, who was working in our Women in Flight area, did. It was just a really great thing. But the shoe is, there's
Gorgeous.
only 2 of them in the world.
Yeah, Air Jordan 1s, proceeds from the shoe supporting women's athletic programs here
Yes.
for the University
And
of Oregon.
we have got one more pair, and they're still To be determined how we're going to do that. I think they're
Oh.
keeping it a big secret.
So breaking news here on the show?
I
or-
don't have any. Nope. Cross would
break.
kill me. I'm not doing it.
Okay. I won't
Good
press.
try though, Jordan. Good
I
try.
won't press. Hey,
I'll give
studied
Joe. I'll tell
journalism.
Joe you did a good job.
Yeah, I studied journalism. Got to break news whenever I can.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
There was also this was announced. I don't even know, like less than an hour before the show, but a new addition to the senior athletic staff. Can
Yes.
you tell me a little bit about that?
I would love to. Damone Merkerson, we stole him from UMass, where coming here, he's going to be in charge of our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging area. It's the very first time that we've had this position, and it took us a little bit to get it filled, but 100% worth the wait. I think when people meet him, you'll feel his passion and his energy. Former pro football player, and so he gets college athletics, and just really excited about him and his knowledge and what he can bring to the table. And so he's here finally.
Can't wait to get him on the show and hear about his 2-minute life
yes.
story. Just reading the recap, this is somebody who has loads of experience.
Loads.
So what went into the decision to add a position like this? What is it going to add to the student-athlete experience here at the University of Oregon?
Absolutely. Well, so we've had a community inclusion committee since before I got here. Katie Harbert, from what I don't know if she was the very first person to run the group that we had here, but she's been in charge of it since I got here, which was, over a decade ago. And we've always done things, related to this, but it's always been added to people's plates. And so now to have a person where this is their sole, job responsibility, certainly they'll be doing other things, but their main job responsibility is pretty incredible. So he's going to, be working with the student athletes and the staff in ways that we can make sure that we are being inclusive and that we are, inspiring the belonging and a lot of educational things, things that, again, I think that we've got a good baseline and things that we have done, but you can always get better. And so just really excited about his experience, his knowledge. And again, when you meet him, you'll see why he was chosen. I think he's going to be a great addition where our student athletes are really going to connect with him. So again, we've done some programming in the past. It'll be great to see what his plans are going forward once he can get his feet wet. And right now we're just shoving a bunch of documents and, information at him, but he's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And, just for me and so many people I talk with, Oregon is always on the cutting edge of all these different campaigns. And so nice to see that the Ducks continue to do that on all sorts of front, including supporting student athletes and equity and inclusion and all those things. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely. And just as a side note, too, after the George Floyd situation, which obviously was a tragedy, the Pac-12 student-athlete leadership team, so SALT, it also became a requirement from them that they thought that there needed to be, more emphasis in this area. And some folks certainly were ahead of us in getting that done. Like I said, we've always had it, just had been additional on other people's plates. So the search took a little bit of time, but like I said, it was worth the wait.
Yeah, and I know there are already some programs involving these types of things at the university.
Yes.
For example, the soccer team, there's a moment of silence every single home game. And I, for one, I really like how the other teams have started to learn about it and join in and making sure that we as a community are doing all we can to support these efforts of inclusion.
Absolutely. It was a point of emphasis with the Pac-12 last year, and the soccer team chose to do that, where both teams did that. But now, yes, all these non-conference opponents believe in it as well and are doing that. And speaking of soccer, Jordan, it's been great to have you on the mic.
Well, yeah, I've done PA now twice.
Yes.
Hopefully you were in attendance for the second game and not the first game.
Both, but I still thought you did great.
Oh, I appreciate that. There's a little bit of a delay, so you speak into the microphone, and then a second later, it goes throughout the stadium. So
and
that
it's
was an
so
adjustment.
hard, right? It's, so I've been on the field, doing some presentations before, and that feedback it's challenging.
It's dramatic. It makes me really respect the work that Jody Sykes has been able to do there. She's a professional, that's for sure.
Absolutely, and all the anthem singers. Because when they're on the field, like they're singing,
wow.
So think of that. So they're singing, and then what they've sang comes, it feels like a minute later. I'm sure it's 2 seconds, but it feels a lot longer than that. And so it's challenging for sure. So see, well done.
Well, I appreciate it. Hopefully I can continue to support those student athletes and pack a little bit of a punch for excitement. Jordan Snyder certainly gave us a couple moments to get excited
how about that? the young lady, she gets her first college goal ever on Thursday, and
As
then
a
let's
senior.
just do it again on Sunday Sunday. My days are all mixed up because of the longer weekend, but yes, on Sunday. And she had another opportunity too that I totally thought was going in. So it's just really exciting. I think that it's given her the confidence that they've been trying to instill in her, but it matters when it actually happens. And so just so pumped for her. And if you see the photos, I'm assuming they're out there somewhere, of her goal and like
The
her
first
reaction to the goal. Oh my gosh. So great.
Yeah,
like that's why we do this.
And we talked to her after the game, and
good.
the energy was still there. She didn't even have a chance to speak to her parents at that point of time.
Yes.
So I want to talk to you more about Oregon soccer. I think that's an exciting program.
Yes.
Volleyball as well. It's also the first game at Autzen Stadium. A lot more coming with Lisa Peterson after this quick break. We're coming back to the Country Financial Studio after this break on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Now's the time to visit your local Toyota dealer and find yourself in a stylish and fuel-saving RAV4, Corolla, or Camry. Or climb behind the wheel of the rugged Tundra, Tacoma, and more. Toyota's national sales event is on. Toyota, let's go places.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Now's the time to visit your local Toyota dealer and find yourself in a stylish and fuel-saving RAV4, Corolla, or Camry. Or climb behind the wheel of the rugged Tundra, Tacoma, and more. Toyota's national sales event is on. Toyota, let's go places.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Chris Jakimick, I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA, is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families, and one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, back here in the Country Financial Studios, always brought to you by On Point Community Credit Union. Continuing our interview with Lisa Peterson here on the show on Athletic Director Tuesday. We talked Hawaii. We talked a little bit about new additions to the senior staff. Now let's talk about, I think, my favorite part, the actual sports that are going on the field, and 2 exciting programs in soccer and volleyball.
Absolutely.
Let's start with soccer, because it seems like you've been at Pape Field quite a bit. You're really connected to that program. There have been some exciting moments this year, and to me, one of the best parts has been the environment at Pape Field. The new turf, the energy in that building has been really exciting so far this year.
Agree completely. Thursday night, the fans that were there, I think it was kid night or something. There was a lot of bouncy houses and
there was a
ducks
school
being
supplies
passed
drive
out.
as well.
Yes.
Yep.
No, I thought it was really great energy. And when we scored that goal against Texas, it was electric. So I agree with you completely. No, I'm just really excited about that program. They have definitely had the injury bug. I don't even say we've been bitten by it. We have been attacked.
I've never seen anything like
anything like it.
Yeah.
And I don't think Coach Abel has either. And so we're trying to get to the bottom of that. So really impressed by the healthy student athletes because they are putting in, a lot of work as far as 90 minutes back to back, a lot of playing time, which I know a lot of them like playing time, but I also think that a lot of them would like some subs, and our numbers on the bench are just getting smaller and smaller. So I know we're trying to figure that part out.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because in the short term there are obviously a lot of tough decisions that have to be made, but thinking long term for this program, how many young players are getting into the action early? I think that's going to pay dividends a year, 2 years from now, and we might look back at a time like this and actually be thankful that it happened.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that that's happened. I remember when volleyball was really young, when women's basketball was really young. Yes, that certainly pays off. It just doesn't feel great, when you're going through all of that. But I agree. A lot of our freshmen and incoming student athletes are getting a lot of playing time. And then Leah just continues to be Leah. And she's just so incredible. And so hopefully the injuries, like we start to get some folks back. I know obviously the most sad where we lost Callan Harrington, for the season, and especially after she had 2 incredible games in the opening weekend. But she's got a great spirit and, is taking it, better than I probably would with it being her second injury, and just really has a positive attitude, and she's going to come back healthy and strong. And I told her it just means that we get to have her for longer. And so, excited about that. But I think that, Graham's doing what he can. He's adjusting the training, adjusting the programming just to make sure that we're trying to stay as healthy as possible and trying to figure out, what's going on with all of that. But I think that we'll be okay. And, I think Santa Clara's had similar situations. So Thursday night could be whoever's left standing, as to how that game plays out. But they are the defending national champs coming in. So if you haven't seen them play, Brandy Chastain is one of their coaches, and certainly would hope everyone can come out for that and support the team.
That's going to be a fun one. Couple of big brands here on the West Coast meeting up at Pat Bay Field before a trip to New York.
Yes.
One other team that came to mind, though, as well, a young team that had to take their licks early, but it paid off in the long run. How about Melissa Lombardi's first year with Oregon
Oh, my
softball?
gosh. How could we forget?
Yeah.
Yes. No, completely. And she's going to have that rolling this year, too. So you're absolutely right. Again, it doesn't feel great, and I'm sure that she would tell you that she probably doesn't want to change it, but certainly doesn't want to go back to that. So, but no, you're right. And it does pay off. It's just, people staying patient. And I'm when I say people, I mean coach staying patient and being okay with how all that works out. But they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Another cool game coming up this week on, I think it's Thursday or Friday night. Oregon volleyball going to Minnesota to face one of the best teams in the country. It'll be an early season test for Coach Ulmer and that squad, which, Coach Ulmer is always self-critical, thinking about ways to get better. And I'm like, Coach Ulmer, the team's 4-0. There's still something to celebrate at this point in the season.
I'm sure he doesn't look at it like that. Yes, and so that's one of the cool things, too, and I think that he's done a really good job with the scheduling. We've been, for as long as I can remember, it goes back at least 8 years, I think, where we've been doing this early preseason. So us and Stanford, go to 2 Big Ten schools. And before it was Minnesota and – has it always been Minnesota and Penn State? Maybe it was. But then, we're doing that in the early on, and we hosted that, a couple years ago.
Right.
And so just really, I think it's smart to be able to get out there and do that. But, Minnesota's only loss is to number 1 Texas, who, if you've seen them play, they look ridiculous. And then
Freaky.
Penn State, exactly, and Penn
Yeah.
State hasn't lost. So it will be a really good test. But I think what's to our benefit is, especially the very first game of the year with Long Beach State having to go 5, we kind of went from a 5-1 to a 6-2, and, kind of, seeing what we have. And then certainly the last few games, he's been able to play, the whole roster. And so, again, getting more folks some experience, and had a couple injuries, but I think we'll be fine from that standpoint. So just it's going to be great, and it's going into a hostile environment, so it's not just a matter of playing 2 really good teams. When you play Minnesota, you're not just playing, the 6 or 7 that are on the court. It's a much bigger deal, but it'll be great for our student athletes, and it's a great trip, and I think that we'll see how things go. And then they've got another tough one going to Miami the following week. With some really great opponents. So it's a really exciting time. And again, you can, similar to football, if you win all of those games, it doesn't really matter in November and December, right? Certainly it helps see how things are, but you haven't won anything or totally lost everything by those early losses.
That's what I wanted to get to next. With Oregon volleyball, and really with all programs here at Oregon, there really is that long view perspective that stands out to me in multiple ways. You talk about juggling which system is best for Oregon volleyball this year, the 5-2, the 6-1, figuring that out. And then not just going on the road to the Midwest this week, but the following week going to Florida.
Yeah.
That replicates an NCAA tournament feel, and that's what this program is all about.
Absolutely.
Getting it done in the season, sure, but also thinking about how they can set up student athletes for postseason success as well.
Right, and preparing them for that, because in our league, especially, in soccer and volleyball, where our league is so good in both of those sports, you're playing championship level opponents every week, but now replicating what that looks like. And so again, I don't think a win is so great, but a loss isn't so bad either, and just kind of, like you said, I like how you term that, the long-term view, because that really is what it's all about. Like, you want to be standing at the end, and you've got to be able to recreate, because it doesn't matter what you do in practice. When you're in the actual game, you can't recreate that. So it's a great test, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. And the good news for all of them is they're not in school right now, so they can really just play their sport.
Yeah, that's a good part about going on the road the next couple of weeks, and they'll come back after that first weekend of play.
Yes.
You mentioned Leah Freeman with Oregon soccer and how great she is. Oregon volleyball is a superstar of that caliber as well, and Brooke Nuneviller. One of the coolest things I think about Brooke Nuneviller still being a Duck is she's one of two players who actually got to experience that win against Minnesota in 2018 during the Sweet 16. How cool is that she has that experience and she could relay that to the next generation of Oregon volleyball, and oh yeah, she's going to dominate competition on the way.
Well, first of all, I got goosebumps when you said it again, because I remember sitting there with Rob Mosley, although he did leave me in that set, because he was going to go do a halftime interview, I think. So I had no one to hit while we were going through that very long set. But no, I mean, as we just talked about, it's the experience that matters. And what's great when you think about that now is she was a freshman on that team, and now she's leading this team. And I think that she would also tell you that this group that we have right now is probably the most talented group that we've had since her time here, all collectively. I think our depth is pretty incredible. But I also think a really good thing for Brooke Nuneviller is Mimi Collier, because people can't key in on Brooke. They have to respect Mimi. And two-time, I think she's the only Oregon student athlete to win the freshman honor back-to-back.
That's right.
Right? And so, she's just, there's a lot more weapons. So people can't just focus on Brooke, which helps Brooke and Oregon. And so just that whole team. And then I'm sure everybody saw the play that, I don't know if it was actually on SportsCenter Top 10 or they just termed it SportsCenter Top 10, but that rally and Georgia Murphy, like if you don't know her name, you should know her name. Our defense is incredible. And what I loved is that there were so many times that play looked like it was over. There was no quit. And I think that that's going to carry over, because Rice didn't let much drop. Like, they don't make mistakes. They're gonna finish, really good in their league. They're definitely a tournament team. So I think that between them and Long Beach State and the other, opponents that we've had, again, that sets us up for, NCAA tournament going forward.
That resilience, I think Oregon volleyball has played their best in fifth sets so far this year. Rice is a program you have to respect. They came in, they were digging everything.
Everything.
Nobody comes into Matthew Knight Arena and does that. And they did it.
They were impressive. I talked to their coach after the fact too, and I know that they were disappointed, when you have an opportunity like that, but they're good, and they've got some great hitters that can jump out of the gym.
Well, you're not going to be here for game week, it sounds like.
I'm not, no.
Which is unfortunate.
But
I did want your thoughts on the home football schedule this year, which it starts with Eastern Washington, going to reopen the Mashofsky Center. A lot of celebration coming up on Saturday. But even after that, this home schedule, it just feels like it was tailored for the fan base. It is a really good slate at Autzen Stadium this year.
You know the best part, Jordan? We don't have to worry about COVID testing. We don't have to see vax cars.
That's right.
So from my standpoint, that is the greatest thing. But it's exactly what you said, that our fans can experience Oregon football in the way that it's meant to be experienced. And so really excited about that. I'm glad the things that we've always had in the past you can get back to. Because last year was great, don't get me wrong, and I'm really glad that we were able to do it. But it didn't feel, like normal. And so I'm really excited about that. But you're right, as far as the schedule goes, it's pretty exciting. Eastern Washington, incredible opponent, BYU, like all of the things. It's going to be pretty exciting. And I will just tell you, like, I know no one was really happy how Saturday went. But they say all the time that you make your biggest improvement from game 1 to game 2. And you have to think of, Dan's perspective. How many of those kids did he recruit? How many of those kids did he coach? It had to be really, just from an emotional standpoint, really difficult, but also for our team. Like, that team could be standing at the end. And so, there's a lot for us to gain from all of that, and I think it's only going to benefit us going forward. And I really, really like his approach. So, again, I know people get anxious about all of that, but I think if we can just stay patient and, like you said, think of the long-term game, we're going to be just fine.
It's another great example of that. You see it across college sports, and I think fans often, and myself included, we can get emotional in the moment, but we forget that Dan Lanning has one of the youngest rosters in the country. This is going to be another really valuable experience the next couple of years.
Right, and I think I saw that stat that said that he had 24 incoming or 24 transfers.
Yeah.
And didn't Georgia have one? So again, like, it's just perspective helps. And, anytime there's a transition, like, that was their first time as a group that they've ever managed a game, even though there's all this great experience coming in. So I think if we can just stay patient, because, again, if we'd won that game, we didn't win a national championship. So, there's a long way to go.
Long way to go. And
yes.
If you're looking for perspective, Deputy Athletic Director Lisa Peterson always has that perspective for us. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you, Jordan. And congratulations to Joey and Lizzie. I'm really excited about their son. And I told him he can feel free to bring him around anytime.
Yeah,
so.
we're still waiting. We're waiting to meet the better Jordan. That's for sure.
I wasn't going to go there, but I agree with
I had to. Lisa Peterson
Thanks,
on Duck
Jordan.
Insider. We'll take a break, come back with Dan Lanning's comments from the Monday press conference on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Happy Tuesday afternoon, everybody. It's game week here at the University of Oregon. Dan Lanning speaks with the media every single Monday night. He answered questions about the Georgia game, the growth for the team, the focus on practice, and, well, that 5:30 kick with Eastern Washington coming up on Saturday. Here's the head coach of the Ducks, Dan Lanning.
All right. Obviously got back to work today, started our prep on Eastern Washington, really got to put to bed the Georgia game. Obviously disappointed with the result in the first game. A lot of stuff that we can improve and work on, but really proud of the fact that our guys attacked that today. And we talk about taking our medicine, going to the doctor, figure out what we can get better. And every one of those guys really walked in that room today, and they weren't finger pointers, they were thumb pointers. What can they improve? Same with our coaching staff. Obviously that result, it starts with me. I said it after the game. We've got good players, and we can play a lot better than we played. That being said, you can't sit around and spend a lot of time looking in the past. You got to start working on the future, and we're about to play a really good opponent in Eastern Washington. Obviously, they've had a lot of success there over the years, and we're excited to get prepped and get to work on them.
Coach, how excited do you think your players are to kind of get back on the field and show that they're better than they were this weekend? And how has that played out so far for you?
Yeah, our guys are anxious, extremely anxious to get back to work. That being said, I think every one of our players acknowledges we need the work in between now and the game. We have, our opponent right now, we have Eastern Washington on the schedule, but our opponent right now is Oregon. And our guys went out there and worked their tails off today, Monday practice. We had a lot of corrections, went and hit those corrections first, got out there and got to work. And I know they're fired up to get back on the field again and prove they're better than they played.
Just what is your process in the wake of a game? How much are you really reviewing that with your team, and how much is that just with the staff, and then you're just immediately looking forward with your team?
The process doesn't change based on the result. I think the process has to be really consistent. For us, we go back, we watch it with our players, but first we watch it with our staff. We do a quality control write-up of every piece of that trip, including the way travel went, how the hotel was, what our meal, the whole prep. We go and evaluate regardless of results. So it starts there. We got together and really broke that all down as a staff yesterday, all the things that we feel like are the immediate attack pieces. And then we started off this morning really with a recap of the game followed by a corrections walk. We go back and walk through every single correction from the game, what we know we can make an immediate improvement on, and we carry that over into the next opponent before we start that next practice.
You've got Matt in the box, Tosh on the sideline, you on the sideline. Just curious kind of how that felt on Saturday, and how involved are you in making some of those defensive calls and adjustments?
Yeah, I think first game, there's some things that I think we walked away saying, hey, we could definitely do a lot more. I think when you try to look at the big picture of the game and you're trying to be a part of offense, defense, special teams, it's hard to be focused on one side. I think I can definitely do more there and help. But that being said, there's a lot more than just a call here or there that affected that game. I mean, we said game one was going to be decided based on takeaways, penalties, and tackling. And I think if you look at that game, we had 2 takeaways, right? I think we were more penalized, right? And I know we missed more tackles, right? We missed a lot of tackles, and we didn't break tackles as much on the other side of the ball. And I think that's the result of that game. There's certainly a lot of other things that we can do better. The communication piece for us as an entire organization can certainly be improved.
Yeah, what are some of the things that you'd like to see from Bo this weekend in terms of improvement from last week?
Not turning the ball over. Obviously that's a big piece. That's where it starts. Operate within the framework of the offense. You don't have to create any plays that aren't there for you to make. You just have to take the ones that are sitting in front of you. When he did that, we were effective at times on offense. When you operate outside the system, it's going to struggle at times. I think that'd be for anybody.
Dan, who decides the running back personnel rotation? Is that a Carlos decision? And in terms of how the distribution, what the rotation was on Saturday, just what was the blueprint for where y'all saw that was successful before, having 4 and 5 guys have a handful of carries apiece?
This was our first game, so I guess we haven't seen that work before in a game for us. But we talk about how we're going to play our players before every game. So we have a staff meeting where we sit down and talk about how things will be arranged, what it'll look like, how it'll play out. Been around a lot of good teams where several players were able to be successful carrying the ball. We've had that format at other places I've been at before as well. Obviously, we just didn't get in a great routine and finish, but we did run the ball successfully at times. We just have to continue to do that.
Duck fans were hoping against odds for an upset, and you guys were probably going here thinking that. Usually an upset happens when you outcoach or outplay a team, and you said you got outcoached and outplayed. Specifically, was there anything that Georgia did on offense that surprised you?
I don't know about surprised. If you go back and you look at the game, it wasn't 40-yard, 50-yard explosive plays down the field. They really did a great job of what we kind of said post-game on the perimeter. They were able to make successful completions for Stetson, and he operated that system really, really well. He knew where he was going with the ball. But a lot of those completions were early, and then they won on the edge, and we didn't. I think yards after contact were a huge piece, which means we got to do a better job of tackling. We got to do a better job fundamentally, and that's really where a lot of it starts. I think there are some ways that we can help our players by what we call they can help that. But I know for me personally, I'm self-reflecting on all the things that I can do better, and I think every player on our team, every coach is doing the exact same.
When a game like that happens against a team like Georgia that you know well, and clearly right now looks like they can contend for another playoff, obviously a lot of variables, but when that happens against a team like that, is part of the message to your team, now we know where we stand compared to the pinnacle of the sport, and now we know what we need to aspire to get to over the course of this season and even beyond that?
I don't know if I spend a lot of time really talking about them. I mean, I will say this. I've been coaching for a while, and I've been a part of losses that are disheartening, that you're really disappointed in. And to me, it's all about the response, right? It's all about there's an event, how do you respond to it, and that's going to lead to your outcome. And I was a part of a situation last year where SEC championship game, I walked off the field, and I think a lot of us were really disheartened, right? But that being said, how you respond and the effect of that response is what really leads to success down the road. And Georgia's a complete team. I'll be impressed if there's a lot of teams that are better than that team out there in college football right now. They're certainly kicking on all cylinders. And I know talking to Coach Smart after the game, he reminded me of his first season when he was down 31-0 at halftime to Ole Miss and on an away game. And that's a part of it. But that's certainly not our goal. Our goal is to get better this week, today, next moment. You can't live in the past, but you're also not pointing at other teams. You're really looking at yourself and how you can improve.
Coach, I mean this as a positive, but after the game, you seemed relatively upbeat and positive after when a lot of coaches would be outwardly frustrated. Is that just you, or is there a moment after the game where you have to kind of get your frustration out and put on a certain face to take the positivity to your team?
I mean, nobody's more frustrated than me, but I'm also more focused on outcome. And if I thought me acting angry and upset and frustrated was going to be a benefit to our team, then that's the approach I would take. I don't think that's a beneficial approach in that situation. It starts with me. Nobody's more frustrated than I am, and I certainly wasn't upbeat. That being said, we played a good team. They played really well, and we didn't. There's a lot to fix. My approach is always going to be best on how do I think I can get the best result from our players, and what do they need from me, right, as much as what do I need from them.
Could tell Dan Lanning's voice a little bit hoarse there. He's got a big week of practice ahead, and you just heard the first half of his comments from his weekly Monday night presser. We have the second half coming. Keep on listening. It's Duck Insider. Back to the Country Financial Studio after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Now's the time to visit your local Toyota dealer and find yourself in a stylish and fuel-saving RAV4, Corolla, or Camry. Or climb behind the wheel of the rugged Tundra, Tacoma, and more. Toyota's national sales event is on. Toyota, let's go places.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Now's the time to visit your local Toyota dealer and find yourself in a stylish and fuel-saving RAV4, Corolla, or Camry. Or climb behind the wheel of the rugged Tundra, Tacoma, and more. Toyota's national sales event is on. Toyota, let's go places.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
afternoon here at the University of Oregon. Welcome into the Country Financial Studio. Jordan Brenner here hosting Duck Insider. We just heard from Dan Lanning, the first part of his weekly press conference. Here's part two with the head coach of the Ducks, Dan Lanning.
You mentioned how Georgia won the edge and you need to be better there. Obviously, teams are going to try and replicate that. Teams won't have as talented of a roster as Georgia does. But how do you fix that? How do you become better on the edge defensively?
Yes, it started today with bubble drill, right? You recreate those exact same moments that happened in the game, and you try to recreate them in practice. And I think it's really clear that practice wasn't harder than the game was for us. The game was harder for us than practice. So we're trying to figure out how we can create those moments where practice is harder than the game, and we hadn't done that yet. So today we had bubble drill. Tomorrow we'll have mod bracket drill. We're going to add some elements where the ball's thrown on the edge. We got to go win on the perimeter, strike, disengage blocks, be the difference, or make blocks, right, to create those explosive plays.
You mentioned the tackling, and it seemed just anecdotally that it got better in the second half. If you even agree with that, kind of.
We didn't tackle well, Rob.
Yeah.
We didn't tackle well in the first half. We didn't tackle well in the second half. I think pulling up the film today, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but, pulling up the film today, I think our players said, yeah, I see what you mean, right? And that's the one thing I'm proud of is every one of these guys say, okay, yeah, we definitely can get better at that. And we had players today reload reps and say, no, I need that again, coach. That wasn't good enough. I didn't do it to my standard. And to me, that's when you're going to have a chance to be successful is when the players are saying, no, I want to do that over with. That wasn't to my standard, because it's really about their standard. It's about our standard here at Oregon.
Dan, you mentioned that you take a lot of blame for this and you want to see yourself and your staff improve. Just where specifically do you want to see yourself improve from this week or that week 1 game to this week 2 game?
Yeah, overall, just adaptability within the game. I didn't feel like we had enough answers, within the game with the success they were having there on the perimeter early. I think you have to carry that. There's always this, this piece of volume versus execution. How much do you really want to carry from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint? We probably carried a little less volume going into game 1. We probably need a little bit more that had some answers for some of the stuff they were doing. So that's certainly a piece. I think walking in there with a call sheet that has some more answers for us and understanding, just seeing some stuff, fixing it quicker, that improving that communication from us as a coaching staff. There's always things you go back and you watch the film and say, man, I wish I would have done a better job of that. And I think we'll carry that forward.
Coach, what have you said to your team about facing adversity and some of the distractions they might unavoidably see on social media and other places?
Yeah, just the opinions of everyone else outside of our building really don't matter. It's about the opinions in the room that truly count. I've said it before. Nobody else is going to be playing a game. We got to play the game. It always gets loudest when it's easiest, and it's really easy to be loud on social media today. You can't put a lot of stock in that because they're not going to play in a single game, right? We affect outcomes here, right? Our coaches, our players, we affect outcomes, not outside noise. So, they smile on your face, right? And we know what it's going to look like when it doesn't go right? The same things to be said when you win. You can't put too much stock in social media. You can't get your worth from those moments. So we certainly don't.
I think Bennett was saying it was a tough fall camp and hard on the body. Tough first game, hard on the body. How is everything physically with this team right now going into game 2?
We're a little dinged up. I know you guys know we didn't get to play with Popo in this game. Unfortunately, it looks like he's going to be, I hate it for him, had a foot injury. It looks like he's going to be out for the season. So that's a big loss for us. He's going to be getting surgery. Hate to lose him because he's worked so hard to get back from injury. That being said, really still looking to lean on his leadership and those pieces. Had some guys that were dinged up today. Don't think it's going to affect their ability to perform on Saturdays. Outside of that, we're relatively healthy, but certainly had some bumps and bruises coming out of that game.
Yeah, in regards to the Eastern Washington game, what are you looking for on Saturday beyond a win, obviously, that would show you that the trajectory of this team is rising?
Yeah, just execution. I think that goes on both sides of the ball. But we know they're a really good opponent. We know they're going to air it out and throw the ball over the yard offensively for them. They've had a lot of success. There's some continuity, there with their head coach. But I want to see our guys go play fast. I want to walk away and you say, okay, that offense has an identity, that defense has an identity in that game. And again, Eastern's an elite team, but we're really focused on us. I want to see those DNA traits show up within that game for us.
Dan Jalil played a lot in the second half. How do you evaluate his play? And since he was playing a lot of times in place of Quez was playing off coverage a lot, and that happened a lot of times when he played last year, got beat on it quite a few times on Saturday. Is that something you feel like you can correct with him, or do you feel like he's a better fit at safety potentially?
I think every one of our players have things that they certainly can improve. And I know Triquez would tell you the exact same thing. I can't speak to how many times off or not off. It's probably a lot of that's based off the coverage we called, right? There's certain calls that will bail, play off. If a team's in a restricted formation, you're going to be off. But yeah, Jaleel is a guy that continues to get better and better in practice. I think he's going to have a role on this team. He's certainly going to put himself in position to help us. But every one of our players, has opportunities to improve. Not just Triquez, not just Jaleel. Every guy on our roster, we got a lot to clean up and address.
Hey, Coach, just beyond the missed tackles, and just correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it seemed like they were able to scheme up a lot of plays where it's like Darnell, Lad McConkey running free, and there's only one guy in the area to make the tackle. Let's be honest, they would break a lot of tackles in that situation. So what else was going on there? Was that schematically on their part, then able to get those kind of matchups in the open field? Was it positioning? What was happening there, and how do you fix that?
Yeah, you talk about, in football, you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul at times, right? And if a team's going to be able to spread the ball out on the perimeter, you only have 11 players, right? So if they have one guy out on the perimeter to the left and one guy on the perimeter to the right, it's hard to have guys that can overlap. We got to be able to add some levels to our defense. I think that can help, right? Where you're not necessarily always in pressure situations or pouring up in the front. And we'll certainly do a better job of that. But having some more overlap helps. But if you take it out of the back end, that means you're loading up a little bit more in the front. Those guys are great guys at breaking tackles. We have to create more buddy tackle situations where there's going to be two guys involved on a tackle. And that probably involves playing a little bit more zone break on the ball at times. But they did a good job, of flushing guys out and pulling out your curl flat defender. Now your strong hook defender has to plus over, and your weak hook defender, the move the pocket plays they had, the perimeter plays they had, are going to create some of those one-on-one tackles. And sometimes you have to make them and win.
Coach Cherry spoke about Jaleel, but I think you had 4 true freshmen get in the game, especially Jordan James. I mean, what did you see from them through tape, and what did you see from them through fall camp that gave you the courage to kind of put them in the game and get some minutes?
Yeah, I think what we always said that from the beginning is if you're good enough, you're old enough, right? We want to be able to incorporate guys that can help us. I think you saw some pregame jitters. We saw a lot of, we saw freshman mistakes. We saw that happened. But we also saw some guys that are resilient and tough and can play winning football for us, but have to be developed over time. So moments of growth, also some real moments of positivity and excitement.
2-part question. Ryan Walk didn't play at all in the second half. Was that performance or injury? And then just your thoughts on Marcus and how he performed, because I think that was the most Marcus Harper had played in his career up until that moment, and how he handled that.
Ryan got dinged. His knee got a little bit, banged up. That being said, I think he's going to be good to go, moving forward. He's still getting treatment, going through some pieces there. But Marcus has proven to be a reliable player for us through fall camp. He's earned the opportunity to certainly participate and help. And I think he carried that over on Saturday. Some moments of growth for him, some spots where he can certainly get better. But having multiple guys that can help play up front is certainly going to help us down the road.
Dan Lanning in Oregon football taking this one on the chin and using it as a learning experience. I think that's a good sign for a young coaching staff. And, I think it'll pay dividends not just this year, but heading into the future, as we were talking about with Lisa Peterson a little bit earlier today. As the week progresses, we'll hear more from Oregon football. We talked with student athletes at practice today. We'll get those interviews to you tomorrow. And as always, I just want to remind you about our partners at Hoodoo. Hey, Duck fans, ski season will be here before you know it. Visit skihoodoo.com for the latest updates on the upcoming season, including preseason sales, deals, and events for the entire family. Hoodoo Ski Area is your locally owned and operated destination for winter fun and a proud supporter of Oregon athletics. After this break, we shine a light on some of the immense success that Oregon baseball is having in the professional ranks. That's after these messages. We're coming back to the Country Financial Studio after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care would love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
It is a Tuesday afternoon here on the campus of the University of Oregon. Jordan Brenner here hosting Duck Insider. Thanks for spending some time with us. A heavy news day here at the University of Oregon, and I wanted to make sure we officially hit this. We talked about this briefly with Lisa Peterson, but the senior staff bolstering its staff today with the addition of a diverse... Pardon me. It is the addition of Demo Merkerson, who has joined the athletic department as a Senior Associate Athletic Director for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. This is the newest senior position for the athletic department, and it's going to help support football student athletes and the Power 5 athletics administrators. So a really cool addition here for the Ducks. They continue to be on the cutting edge of all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. Pretty cool to see, and if you want some more thoughts on that, earlier in the show we talked about it with Lisa Peterson. It's also a busy week here at the University of Oregon because we've had so much to catch up on in Major League Baseball, and the latest, well, Ryan Nelson getting it done in his Major League debut yesterday for the Diamondbacks. Going into Petco Park, Ryan Nelson goes 7 innings, gives up 4 hits, strikes out 7, didn't walk anybody, and gets a win against the San Diego Padres. Yes, Juan Soto was in the lineup. Yes, Josh Bell was in the lineup. Manny Machado was in the lineup. In fact, Soto and Machado each went 0 for 4. At one point, Ryan Nelson retired 17 straight hitters. That is remarkable. And I remember Ryan Nelson here at Oregon. He struggled with his command. He's clearly grown a lot, but I remember there was one particular moment where it clicked for me, yeah, Ryan Nelson's going to be a big leaguer. And, of course, it came against the Beavers. It was actually his second to final appearance as a Duck in 2019, a season where he was a first-team All-Pac-12 selection and led the conference with 104 strikeouts in just 65 innings. On May 12th, against Oregon State, this is when Adley Rutschman was there, he struck out a career-high 12 over 6 in a third out of the bullpen, got the win. Oh, yeah, and then Adley Rutschman, the future number 1 overall pick in the draft, yeah, he struck out twice against Ryan Nelson in that baseball game. Really cool to see a historic game for Ryan Nelson. In fact, he is just the second pitcher ever to go 7 scoreless innings with 0 walks and 7 or more strikeouts in his debut in the history of the American League. and the National League. That's Ryan Nelson for you, off and running for his professional career. And that's not just the only cool thing. Ryan, I want to bring you in on this. You mentioned this to me. How about the connection to Parker Kelly Ryan and the Ducks?
Yeah, Parker Kelly, he was a teammate with Ryan Nelson at Oregon. The catcher for the Diamondbacks in this game was Parker's brother, Carson Kelly.
Cool.
So a lot of connections there.
Isn't that remarkable how that happens sometimes?
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And Parker, while he was here at Oregon, was a pitcher alongside of Ryan Nelson. So he has some practice throwing to Carson Kelly. I'm sure that Ryan got a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, Ryan Nelson coming out with that fastball yesterday. And, well, here are some highlights from that tremendous appearance.
Well, Ryan Nelson, you cannot imagine how effective and impressive he was in his major league debut. 7 scoreless innings of 4-hit baseball. He did not walk a batter, had 7 strikeouts, gave up a leadoff double to the first batter he faced, Jurickson Profar, then retired the next 17 batters consecutively. He was sensational.
Well, only a couple of hard hit balls in the entire outing against him. Just a fantastic job first time out.
That's Ryan Nelson for you. Filthy with that fastball. He always had that big hammer as well. And, well, from the looks of those highlights, and I got to spend some time watching the extended highlights of that game, maybe even just going and watching the entire thing. He had impressive command against one of the best lineups in Major League Baseball. And, well, Ryan, I want to bring you in on this. Pretty cool to see. It's been happening for a few years now, but the level of success Oregon baseball is having at the professional level and what that does for Mark Wasikowski and his group going into the future. I think seeing that success at the highest level is going to tell young recruits, young high school baseball players, hey, I can go to the University of Oregon and they're going to set me up for success at the professional level.
Yeah, and when you look at what's been going on with Major League Baseball, it seems like a lot of Ducks have emerged this season. And a lot of Ducks on the Hill have emerged this season. You think of David Peterson for the Mets. You think of Tyler Anderson for the Dodgers. Now Ryan Nelson for the Diamondbacks. It seems like the Ducks are becoming a big key player as one of the big universities that is a pipeline to the national stage.
And some big brands on the West Coast. Anderson, the Dodgers, right? Peterson and the Mets and the big season that they're having. And now Nelson in Arizona, which, there are a lot of current Oregon baseball players, former Oregon baseball players, and I think most importantly, future Oregon baseball players that come from the state of Arizona. That's really amazing.
It's a great opportunity, especially for Anderson and Peterson, because those two guys might get postseason experience, might get on the biggest stage.
Really
so
cool.
It's going to be big.
Yeah, let's not forget about what Spencer Steer did as well with that home run in his debut this week as well. Good show here on Duck Insider. We're back tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to Ryan, Scott, and Mitchell as always. And go Ducks.
Ready for our little forest adventure?
Yes! So much waiting for me. Yeah, I wanna go outside. I wanna be.
We're here.